Join me, Mark Windows, for Windows on the World live every Sunday 9 to 11 p.m. GMT. Check out our archive and programme stream at windowsontheworld.net. Welcome back to Windows on the World. Yes, this is part 2 of our show. Do have a look at the one before this because it gives it a wider context. I've got Piers Corbyn here with me tonight, and we're going to be talking about some recent things, including the election. Now, we're going to get into what is really going on in the country because everything is being manipulated and controlled, as we revealed in our previous show. So, Piers, you first wanted to do a little post-mortem about what happened.
Yes, I think it's worth people just reflecting to understand, because the media is now going on to try and get people away from actual reflection. I would say really what happened at the election was not so much a Tory victory, but a Labour defeat, primarily by the enemy within, and also the biggest ever mass media hysterical onslaught against the leader of any political party.
That's true, that is.
That is true, where they basically crucified him. And since my brother's initials are JC, it's kind of
the irony's not been lost on me there,
Indeed. Now, the actual figures are interesting. There was a slight decline in total vote. Tories went up by only 1%, 1.2%. Labour went down by about 6%. So those Labour voters that didn't vote, and that 6% decline was either not voting or voting for Brexit Party or somebody else, Lib Dems, as a kind of protest, especially for Brexit Party, a protest about Labour's policy on Brexit. Now, compare that with what happened in 2017, where my brother's policy was respect the result and various very good social policies. Labour's vote went up 8.5%. This time it went down by 6% because of the Brexit nonsense policy, which was imposed upon him, essentially. Now, in this leadership election that's happening, we're being asked to think who would be the most electable, Well, Tony Blair was electable indeed, but you see, he did a lot of privatisation and started wars, so that wasn't what people voted for. Now, these candidates in this election are being asked questions like, what score would you give Jeremy out of 10 for his leadership? And a lot of them are saying things like, 10 out of 10 or very high, because they know the Labour membership really do appreciate him. If I was asked, I would say I'd give Jeremy, I wouldn't mark him out of 10, I'd mark him out of 11. I'd say I'd give Jeremy 10 out of 11. Out of 11 because he was able to reach places that others could not and bring forward policies that others failed to bring forward, and had an understanding of world politics which others were failing to put forward. But I'd only give him 10 out of 11 because he lost one mark for appeasement. And appeasing his enemies was the downfall.
I agree with that.
That's why he lost on this Brexit policy.
Yes, he looked weak in the eyes of the public,
though
it was a difficult situation. The other big problem is, of course...
Well, he should have never got to that far.
He wants the big Green Deal.
Yeah, he wants a big Green Deal.
Why does he want that then?
Well, that could have been appeasement, or of course, but the big Green Deal really, if you look at it another way, it's a quantitative easing thing. It's like Keynesian economics, shoveling money into the economy. So that is a positive aspect of it. Of course, there's very negative aspects of it in there as well. But in terms of the economics of it, that's how it would work. Did that lose or gain support from the public? I don't think it lost support from the public. It probably gained because it was included things like housing insulation. Most people want that. They don't want to have it imposed on them, but of course they don't know that was going to happen or would happen anyway.
See,
they know there's going to be useful money.
It looked to the outsider as though he was capitulating to everything. He was even seen with Greta Thunberg.
Yes.
Now, this, to me, is unforgivable, you see. This is not leadership material, Piers, to me. But maybe I'm a little too idealistic.
Well, possibly, because I mean, if I was leader, I wouldn't be seen with it like that. But, these are things that happen. But I think the prime stuff that he got mass support for and has carried on is nationalisation of the railways, increasing minimum wage, free education. And, this has been thrown away because people were sort of thinking, Brexit, we've got to have Brexit must be done. Now, Boris's campaign was skillful, of course, and people do want Brexit done. They do want it done, and I know what a lot of voters thinking. Piers, yeah. Well, we got to get Brexit done. Let's just do that. Then we go back to supporting Labour, which I'm sure they will. So all is not lost at all. But the powers that be want to destroy the Labour Party, and that is what they're hoping to do through this election campaign.
Well, they just bring their own people in. Yeah. They brought their own people in. So you've got
Starmer.
Jess Phillips. Who's that other idiot?
Oh, my God.
The one with a double-barrelled name. Rebecca Long Bailey?
Yeah.
Who's she?
Well, to be fair to her, the Long Baileyness was her and her husband deciding to merge their names. So she's not like an inherited.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Person.
I'm talking about the idiot that resides within the name.
Ah.
Yeah,
I can't comment on
well, you won't comment on it, but the point is that, all parties are controlled by the same thing. They're all imposing Agenda 21. None of them have any power to do anything about that. And if anybody comes up and opposes it, it'll be taken down. So individuals have to act collectively, not collectivists. That's the point. Political parties, to me, are not the way forward. Individuals actually taking responsibility for what they're doing is important. But problem is that it's all controlled. I mean, Boris Johnson is just doing as he's told. It doesn't matter. Point is, we're not going to have a proper Brexit. That's a fact. They're not going to let it happen. They'd rather have the Houses of Parliament blown up than agree to it, in my opinion. I'm throwing that in. That's what you think.
There's an interesting point there. No, I hope your name isn't Guy Fawkes by any chance, or you could be arrested as being a... Well, they were of course... Catholic extremists, weren't they?
Well, there was probably a bit more to it than that, but...
Anyway, yes. I want to talk about
Carry on.
Sir Keir Starmer. I think the idea of a knight and a city lawyer running the Labour Party is ridiculous.
No, I think it lends real credibility to the party, which they clearly haven't had for the past 3 years, Piers.
Yes.
I mean, let's face it. Starmer is an upstanding man. He's a lawyer. He's a man of the city who can be a man of the people. What is wrong with this? I don't understand you.
Yes, well, I would. Anyway...
you lost for words now, haven't you?
No, I've not lost for words. But I think, of the choice available, I think one should go for those who are clearly supporting the basic social policies of Labour to carry on. And the key one is the double-barrelled name one, as you mentioned, Long Bailey. I think the others are treacherous.
Okay, well that's fine because I've been following the Jess Phillips pantomime, which is incredibly funny. I mean, you couldn't find anyone who is so inept with so much ego. It's incredible, isn't it?
I know.
It's absolutely incredible.
I was at the Channel 4, I was at the election night thing when she came on live, and
she was laughing, wasn't she, when your brother lost? Yeah.
I mean, looking at her, I thought, what the hell is this? You know what I mean? And she basically announced it pretty openly that she was going to stand to be leader. And I thought, well, this is just ridiculous.
Yes, but it's not ridiculous in her minuscule but highly inactive brain, is it?
No.
So let's get on to something more important. Man-made climate change does not exist. Okay.
Good. Well said, Mr. Windows. Well said.
Well, it says so on this pamphlet here, doesn't it?
And who wrote the pamphlet?
I think it was written by you. Tell us about it.
Yes, we've got a new pamphlet out. 24 pages. The 16 by me on man-made climate change does not exist, and 8 pages by Philip Foster called it's called Settled Science in inverted commas. And it goes into everything you need to know. It's explained simply and succinctly and is being warmly welcomed, or shall I say coldly welcomed, because we're moving into a mini ice age, coldly welcomed, positively welcomed by people who've got it. And you can buy it online for only £2.50, or if you want to buy 10, it's whatever, 5 or 10 20 quid, that type of thing.
It's very good,
Easily.
actually.
Yeah.
It's like a little booklet with everything you need to know to rebut the alarmists and
That's
the people who read The Guardian. It's actually got some graphs in and information which is very key to debunking the non-arguments of people who believe in this agenda. And we've been covering it for so long that I think we've covered every angle of it. And we've been through everything from the 97% agree to the hottest summer ever. You know, I mean, it's incredible. And
that Cambridge game where they just had a little heat island that they thought was the end of the world. And,
so do you want to get into some of the detail of this now?
Well, a little bit.
I think you should.
Give
us some factoids. Come on.
Factoids.
Yeah.
Right. Well, okay, factoids. Big Ben Tower could be used to represent the atmosphere, and it's 316 feet high, and the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere will be represented by 1.5 inches on the top of Big Ben Tower. That is 0.04%. And man's contribution to that flux of CO2 in and out of the biosphere on a daily, weekly, monthly, annual basis would be a bird dropping on top of Big Ben Tower. And we're asked to believe this is the cause of forest fires in Australia.
Well, Kevin Boyle,
mad.
Who's actually looked into this and is a maths teacher, did a little experiment and he found out exactly how much carbon dioxide the UNIPCC say is man-made, right?
Right.
And he got a piece of A4 paper and it's a millimetre square dot on a piece of A4 paper.
Correct.
Yes.
Or it's one person in a stadium, an Arsenal stadium of 70,000 people. And that is just ridiculous. So for the CO2 story to work, as it says in the pamphlet, there's two things have to be true. Man's 4% of the total has to control the rest of CO2, which is a conspiracy theory of nature. It means that termites have to do what man does, i.e. when man breathes, termites have to fart. Or when you drive a car down Camden High Street, termites in Africa have to fart in harmony, because if they don't, they're going to rule, because there's more termites around producing more CO2.
Look, this argument, is so easy to win that anybody who's armed with a few simple facts can easily win it, because the people who are pushing it don't have any facts. In fact, somebody has accused me of copying Steve Wright on Radio 2 by saying factoids. It popped into my highly inactive and minuscule brain just by accident. But in response to that, I'll say, not off.
Okay. And the second key point then on this page 1 is that the carbon dioxide itself has to be the main controller of temperature. Now, this is observationally false. Carbon dioxide is an effect, not a cause of temperature.
That's a good one to remember, actually. Always throw that in, but the warming happens after. Yeah.
And there's lots of little pictures in it, graphs of what happens in America, temperatures and CO2, how they don't move together. Ocean circulation to explain why we have an 800-year lag between temperature rises and then CO2 going up, and clever little graphs about the lapse rate of temperature as you go up in the atmosphere. That is the decrease in temperature going up, and how that all works. And we've even got a little picture of a bit of double glazing, where an American company, you see, they made some double glazing with CO2 in it, hoping that it would make the rooms warmer. And so I'm serious.
Well, it's laughable.
And that little company went bust. And I was speaking.
Why did it go bust?
Well, because the rooms didn't get warmer.
But why did they? I still don't understand why that would affect the rest of their business. Why would it affect the rest of their business if they made windows? I don't get it.
Well, that wing of their business, they set up a special operation.
Was it the far right wing?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, it must have been, mustn't it? It must have been the funded far right wing. They put CO2 in there. Yeah.
But when I was speaking in the Bundestag Environment Committee on the 6th of November, they've got great big windows there. So I talked about the windows there and putting CO2 in them. And there was a curious little silence when I explained that nothing would happen because, I think they realised what I said was true, but they didn't like it at all. And then started various attacks, which I Well, yeah, they started attacking me rather than on the facts. They said, oh, Mr. Corbyn is a well-known denier of what happened at 9/11 and he's an anti-Semite because he put out some tweets.
Yeah, well, this is what we talk about all the time.
And it was
it's logical fallacies and ad
complete
hominems.
Nonsense. Yeah. And I said, look here, that was a fake tweet. And anyway, why don't you address the actual issues? And furthermore, you're saying this now just to attack my brother.
Well, that's what they do. You see, the point is that it's never about the argument itself.
No.
The argument itself has to become secondary. And that's what our show, The Big Green Ego, was all about. What you get is these people who use reversal. They accuse you of what they're doing. And then they say, you're not answering my questions when they haven't answered yours. And they won't answer the question as to where is the peer-reviewed paper which proves that CO2 drives temperature.
That's right.
Does it exist?
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't exist, you see.
And we've got loads of references to peer-reviewed stuff in here, in my section and in Philip Foster's section. And that includes little picture of a pterodactyl and question about how...
Oh, it's a picture of a pterodactyl. I'm getting it. If there's a picture of a pterodactyl in it, I'm getting it. I haven't seen a pterodactyl for ages.
Because the atmosphere then was denser. There was more of it. Anyway, loads of stuff there. And also, if you order, you might get one or two free leaflets. You can download these leaflets anyway. But we've got one about climate change, scam alert, merchants of fear exposed, produced by Action for Life Action for Life N, that's for northwest of England, United Kingdom, sorry. And we got another one which we handed out outside Australia House. Don't be a sheep, check before you bleat, with a little picture of the Indian Ocean dipole. Anyway, that's what I've got to say about weather and climate change at this point. But do join into those actions we mentioned on January the 31st and February the 27th. It will be advertised on Windows on the World and Weather Action and Action for Life.
Yeah, and please dig into the archive at windowsontheworld.net, because if you go back even a couple of years, you'll find some really interesting stuff. A lot of people have been contacting me recently about ancient history, stuff we've covered in the past, and we're going to be doing more of that on the Wednesdays. And do please support us on Patreon, because we do need your help.
Forecast.
Do you have to keep interrupting?
Yes.
I thought you did, yeah. So this is the thing, you see. You've got what's the word for you? It's. I was going to say inevitable.
It's inevitable, yeah. But no, seriously, people ought to go onto Patreon. It's very easy. You press the button.
Yes, well, we're going to be doing lots more in the weeks to come, and do join us on Wednesday at 8 p.m. I do some broadcasts on Thursday on the Eric Von Essex YouTube channel, which are a lot of fun as well, and lots more is going to be coming out. So that's great, and I think we're done here tonight. And do join us Wednesday and Thursday, and check out some of the articles on windowsontheworld.net and the back catalogue, because we've done some really, really in-depth shows recently which are great for information when you need to be in an argument and win it. Because that's the point. You have to win the argument, and we keep winning the argument, don't we? So that must be a good thing. Thanks a lot, everybody, and good night. Join me, Mark Windows, for Windows on the World live every Sunday, 9 to 11 p.m. GMT. Check out our archive and programme stream at windowsontheworld.net.